Hey, this is Mr. C here. I'm making these videos so that my computer tech students can rewatch them, pause them, rewind them. They're going to be on my YouTube channel, so they can go and find them and watch them if they miss something, or maybe they don't understand something in class, or they just want to go back and review. So this is for them. So I'll try to keep these videos kind of short, or follow the lessons of the day anyway, and then we'll go from there. So today we're going to start working with Photoshop, and we're going to start working with animated GIF files or animated GIF files, and we're going to use Photoshop. And this is just kind of a continuation of our web design experience. We've had time to lay out our website. You created a website about yourself, and we also had created a web page for projects that we're going to make here in computer tech. And our first one is just going to be a simple rocket ship, and we're going to use Photoshop. So you want to go to your desktop, to your orb, and look for Adobe Photoshop and start that up. And once you get that up, we're going to create a new file. So we want to go to File and choose New. Once that loads up here, you're going to see a new dialog box here, and we want to change the dialog box name to Simple Rocket Ship. And we want to set the width to 250 and the height to 250. We're going to leave the background content white, and make sure it has pixels for the size that we're going to be using. We don't want inches. You're going to have a pretty big image if you do. So make sure it's 250 by 250, the width and height in pixels, and then choose OK. Alright, so you'll notice that gives us a white square, and we're going to be using different palettes and different tools in Photoshop. One of the main palettes we use a lot is the layer palette. So let's take some time and get familiar with the layer palette. There's several icons at the bottom of that layer palette, and the couple that you're going to use quite a bit are create a new layer and delete a layer. Okay, we start off with a layer that is our background, and you can see it's got a little padlock in there, meaning that it's locked. Okay, and then means you just can't delete it. You can't edit it. But there's also an eyeball, and that is to turn the layer on and off. So if we click on the eyeball, excuse me, when we click on that eyeball, we can toggle the visibility of that layer. Alright, so let's get started. First thing I want to do is use a tool in our toolbar here on the left hand side, and I want to find the tool that is 3/4 of the way down the toolbar, and yours may be the custom shape tool. May look something similar to that, and you'll notice that there's these little drop down arrows in the lower right hand corner, and you click on those and hold it down. This little pop-up appears. Now we want to create a cylinder because we're going to build this simple rocket ship, and we want to use the ellipse tool. So we're just going to start and we're going to draw an ellipse or an oval shape here. And but before we draw that shape, we want to change and set some of the settings here in the dialog box at the top of the screen. We want to change our color to a light gray, and I would say somewhere in the 35% range. And then we will also want to turn the stroke off. We're going to turn the stroke off right now. So that line with the slash through it that represents the stroke and it's turned off. Okay. Now, once I start drawing, you'll see the cursor changes and it creates this oval that is filled in automatically with the fill color. Okay. Now, one of the things I want to do is I want to double click on the layer, and that brings up the layer style dialog box. And we want it to have a stroke here, so we're going to go down to the tab on the side, click on the stroke, and you can notice if you move that dialog box over a little bit, so you can see exactly what appears. Now, you can see that when I click on the stroke tab, it gives us different options for filling in the stroke. And right now it's set to 3px. And let's see if we can drop that down to 2. I think that looks pretty good. And we'll leave the other settings alone. And we could change the color here as well, but we're going to leave it at black and choose OK. So now we've got our stroke here. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to manipulate the shape itself. So I'm going to press the keyboard shortcut Control-T. You can see it shows you down on the screen what keys I selected. And notice now they've got these grab handles on this ellipse that we drew. Okay, and then in our dialog setting boxes at the top there's different options that we can use to manipulate the object. We can rotate it, and we can put in the angle of rotation, the height of it, and the width of it, and so forth. But for what we want to do right now, we're going to leave those alone. And if we look over here to the right, you can see that we have a warp function. And then you can see there's a cancel function, and then an accept function or enter function. We're going to select that free transform mode right here. And so now you can see we have some more grab handles here, and I just want to manipulate those a little bit more so I get that more of a pointy edge to my rocket ship. And you can see I've got this grab handle and I can curve it, but I want to pull it straight up here. And so something like that. So I'm taking those two handles and pull them straight up there. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit the check mark up there in the upper right hand corner. So it kind of looks like a teardrop or something similar to that. Now I want to try to manipulate the bottom of the ellipse. So I think the easiest way to do that is to just use some editing tools. And the way to do that first is we have to flatten that layer, or we have to rasterize that layer. So I want to rasterize it, and now you can see it's just an image. I can no longer edit it with the shapes tool. It is what it is, and but that's okay. And the next step is we want to find the marquee tool, and that's the second one from the top. I want to choose that marquee tool. Yours is probably set to rectangular, but if you click and hold it just like we did in the shapes tool, you'll see that you have 4 different options. And we want to choose that elliptical marquee tool. And we simply want to draw an ellipse or a circle in the bottom portion of that ellipse. Okay. So if you need to, you can click inside it, and you can rearrange it or move it to a different location. But you want it something similar to what you see on the screen here. Now, I'm simply going to delete the bottom half by pressing down the delete key. And you'll notice then that the bottom section of our ellipse has been cut away where the circle of the marquee tool was. Now we want to deselect the circle, so we're going to press Control D, and that deselects and the marquee tool disappears. So we've got a pretty good start. We've got the base of our rocket ship. Now we're going to add some wings to the side here. And so again, I think we're just going to change back to the shapes tool, but instead of using the ellipse, we're going to use the rectangle tool. And we're just going to draw a simple rectangle here. And you'll notice that that rectangle is drawn and a new layer appears. And that's fine. We're going to manipulate that again by copying that stroke from our first ellipse. So I'm going to right click on that ellipse. I'm going to choose copy layer style and then click on the rectangle and paste the layer style with the right click. Let's see, right there it is. Alright, so now you can see we've got our rectangle. It has the black stroke, and now we can manipulate that image. So to manipulate that image, we go Control T, and again we can move it, we can tilt it, you get that curved angle here, and then we can also warp it. And that's kind of what I want to do. Let's back up here for a minute, turn the warp off. I want to move that a little closer to the edge of my rocket ship. Okay, so again, we're going to go back to warping, and I'm just going to manipulate the fins here. The fins, basically. I can push pull these in, clicking on those grab handles there, and just kind of manipulating those grab handles around the edge of my rocket ship here. Now I think I got those a little too big, so I'm going to click the mesh tool here out, and then I just want to squeeze those down a little bit while I'm still in that Control T, but just using the grab handles and manipulating it to the size and shape I want it. And I'm just going to go back and forth till I get something I'm comfortable with or I like. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is not anything that has to be that outstanding. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm holding down the Control key and use my scroll wheel to zoom in so I can see those grab handles a little bit easier, and just kind of rearrange them, get them in a little tighter. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, and that doesn't look too bad right there. I think that's pretty good. So I'm going to click the check mark and click apply, and that worked out pretty good. So now I've got that one wing, and I want to copy it or transpose it to the other side. So I'm going to select the move tool, okay, and with that move tool, I can there we go. I'll move that up just a little bit. But I want to transform this, so I want to go up to the Edit menu, and I want to choose Transform Path. And in this case, I'm just going to, before I do that, I have to first copy that layer. So if I right-click, I want to duplicate the layer, and I'm going to call this one Rectangle 2. And click OK. You can see in the layers palette I made a copy of it, and now I can drag that one over with the move tool, and now I'm going to use that edit menu and choose transform path and then flip it horizontally, and that gives me an exact copy, and I'm going to drag that right up against. Okay, so now we've got the two wings. We're going to add a third wing to our, and we're just going to use a simple rectangle tool to create that third wing. So we're going to click on the rectangle tool, and again it's just going to be drag and drop rectangle. That's going to represent that third wing. We're going to paste that layer style onto it so it gives that black stroke outline. And we're going to go Control T. I'm going to make it just a tad bit thinner using those grab handles. There we go. Hit the check mark. Choose Move. And you can also use the arrow keys to nudge your layers or your objects over. So that looks pretty good. Alright, so now we've got this basic shape. Alright, so I think the next step, we want to put a little porthole on the side of our rocket ship. So I'm going to change it back, the shape tool, to the ellipse tool. And I just want to draw a square. Now I want to get a perfect circle, so I'm going to hold down the shift key as I drag. Alright, and so now, oops, my ellipse disappeared, but that's okay. If I right click on it and paste that layer style, there it is. It was still there. You just couldn't see it because it was grayed out. Same color as the body of the rocket. So now I'm ready to change some of the colors on this. I want to make this porthole blue. So with that layer selected, I'm going to go back down to the Shapes tool. And this time my fill color is going to be this cyan blue. Okay, and you can see I'm using the color picker tool, and that changes the fill color to blue, and you can see the changes that apply instantly. Okay, so this is our basic rocket ship. I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I think the next step here is to merge all of our layers, make this all one layer, because we've got several different layers here. This is way too many for our complex animation that we're going to be doing, and layers are a big part of how we create our animation. And it's basically turning layers on and off and using a function or a tool called Tween to animate our movements with the layers. So I want to reduce the number of layers. I'm going to select that top layer and then go all the way down and hold the shift key down and select the last layer, not the background layer, but the first layer that we created, which was the original ellipse of the rocket ship's body. And then I want to right click on those layers, and I want to choose Merge Layers. So now we've got these layers merged, and it's all in one layer now. So if I want to go to move it, I can, but my rocket is one piece now. I don't have separate wings. I don't have separate a separate body or a viewport. So this is our rocket ship. Not bad to start off with. Alright, so our next step is to create a new layer, and that layer is going to be used for our flames since they're coming out from underneath the rocket ship. So I'm just basically going to take the paintbrush tool, and again, we're not going to be too fancy. This is just a simple animation. And again, if you hold down that paintbrush tool, you can see you have some different options, but we just want the paintbrush tool. And I think we want to set the size of our paintbrush to about 5, and then our hardness should be set at 0. And our first color we're going to choose is kind of a bright red orange. So maybe a pure red or pure orange, pure red orange maybe. Doesn't have to be anything fantastic. And since we're on another layer, it doesn't matter if I get onto or paint over top of the rocket ship, and I just want to color an outline of what I think the flames would look like. Again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. And I'm going to jump over here and grab the fill tool, fill that in, and then I'm just going back to the pencil tool, or excuse me, the brush tool, just kind of go over the outline. And if you miss some spots, it's not that big a deal, because again, this is flames. It's going to be animated, you know, and there's no one color, right color for flames. And if you don't like it, you can always go up to edit and undo your mistakes. Or you can take the eraser tool and you can set the eraser tool to the size you need. In my case, I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. And then you can erase some of the, some of that flames could be curling up there. It doesn't have to be perfect. However you want to do it. No right or wrong way to do it. So, got some of the red, or red-orange. And now I'm going to change my color to yellow. And I'm going to change to the paintbrush tool and set my size maybe a little bit smaller. Now I just want to go in again, there's no wrong way to do this. Flames are just flames, they're just that. Maybe a couple patches of yellow down there. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with it. And let's see if we can quicken this up by using the fill tool. Again, whatever. It doesn't have to be perfect. So I just go back. And I don't want all that orange to show through. So I just kind of trace around it. Alright, that's good. And then maybe if you want, you can add a little bit more of a red to it. Something like that. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's not pretty. It's not rocket science, so whatever. Alright, so we'll save that. And I think we'll do one more step here before it's time to move on. So let's go to the file menu and we're going to choose save. And I want you to navigate to your network drive. So that's going to be in your computer under your network drive. Okay, it should be your last name, whatever. You know where it is. You're going to make a new folder in your computer tech, and you're going to create that folder and call it Photoshop. Okay. And you notice that the name's already there, so all you have to do is click the save button and it will save. And you may get a maximize compatibility dialog box. Just click OK, and now you can see your rocket has been saved. Alright, one last thing before we go. I do want to group these two together, and I'm going to highlight both of them or select both of them. Click both of them, hold down the control key and select them. And then I want you to go control G, and you notice it puts it in a group. So those two are in a group or inside this folder where it has a little triangle there that you can open and close to see what's in the group. Then we're going to just take and drag the fire below the rocket ship. And then I'm going to use the move tool and just, I don't want to be on the group, I want to be on the fire. Come on. That's all. Alright, so I see I was selected my group for my selection tool. It's set to group and not layer. That's why I was having trouble just moving the fire. So I want to just tuck that up underneath the rocket ship a little bit, just like that, and then we're good to go. And that'll be it for today. So make sure you save this. Make sure it's in your Photoshop folder inside your network drive. So we'll pick this up tomorrow or whenever we have class next. I know we have conferences. So I believe we do have class tomorrow, and we'll be able to get this done and a few other animations that will be recorded.